Potter profile on Ernie Macmillian. Ernie comes from a pureblood family. Although he was very proud to be a pureblood, he was never prejudiced against half-bloods and muggleborns. He went to Hogwarts in 1991 and was sorted into Hufflepuff. He became best friends with Hannah Abbott, Susan Bones and Justin Finch-Fletchley. In his second year, the Chamber of Secrets had been opened, and he decided, along with his friends, to join the Dueling Club, where Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy faced off against each other. This resulted in Draco conjuring a snake that landed in front of one of Ernie's best friends, Justin Finch-Fletchley. Harry, unaware he could speak Parseltongue, told the snake not to attack Justin, but because no one else could speak Parseltongue, it appeared that Harry was egging the snake on. After this incident, Ernie was convinced Harry was the heir of Slytherin, especially as Parseltongue is what Salazar Slytherin was known for. He became very protective of Justin, as he overheard Justin telling Harry he was Muggleborn, and convinced Hannah and Susan that Harry was the heir. Hannah, he's a Parselmouth. Everyone knows that's a mark of a dark wizard. Have you ever heard of a decent one who could talk to snakes? They called Slytherin himself Serpent Tongue. Remember what was written on the wall: enemies of the heir, beware. Potter had some sort of run-in with Filch. Next thing we know, Flinch's cat's attacked. That first year, Creevy was annoying Potter at the Quidditch match, taking pictures of him while he was lying in the mud. Next thing we know, Creevy's been attacked. Harry approached Ernie in an attempt to explain what really happened at the Dueling Club, but Ernie became very defensive and very quickly told Harry, "In case you're getting ideas, I might tell you that you can trace my family back through 9 generations of witches and warlocks, as my blood's as pure as anyone's." He also brought up the fact that Harry hated the Dursleys, which he believed was Harry's motive for the attacks. Soon after, Justin was petrified, which convinced Ernie Harry was definitely the heir of Slytherin. But when Hermione Granger was petrified, he knew he had been wrong about him, and gave him a public apology. He then began believing that Draco Malfoy was the heir, and was very confused when Harry told him very strongly Draco was definitely not the heir of Slytherin. In the summer of 1994, Ernie and his family attended the Quidditch World Cup final between Ireland and Bulgaria, which was invaded by a bunch of Death Eaters. In Ernie's 4th year, the Triwizard Tournament was held at Hogwarts. He supported fellow Hufflepuff Cedric Diggory, who was the Hogwarts champion, and stopped talking to Harry when his name came out of the Goblet of Fire. He believed Harry had entered himself into the tournament as he wanted more fame and glory. He wanted his fellow Hufflepuffs to agree with him, but it didn't take much convincing. Ernie wore a Support Cedric Diggory / Potter Stinks badge and would frequently harass Harry with his badge along with other Hufflepuffs, despite the fact Cedric had asked them not to. Ernie stopped wearing his badge after the first task. At the end of the tournament, Cedric was murdered by Lord Voldemort. Ernie attended his memorial feast at Hogwarts. Since Harry was with Cedric when he died, Ernie left all his angry feelings towards Harry behind and believed Harry's claim of Voldemort's return. In 1995, Ernie became a Hufflepuff prefect alongside Hannah Abbott. Ernie was very outspoken in supporting Harry and even made a public declaration. Ernie joined Dumbledore's army as he believed learning defensive spells was the most important thing to do apart from his OW elves. In the run-up to exams, he was studying 8 to 10 hours a day and would end up irritating other students by boasting about it and then inquiring about their study habits. When Dumbledore was forced to leave Hogwarts after the DA was discovered, Umbridge became headmaster, but Hogwarts refused to accept her and sealed the headmaster's tower entrance, prompting her to throw a tantrum. This was witnessed by the Fat Friar, the Hufflepuff house ghost, who later told Ernie about the incident, who in turn told Harry, Ron and Hermione, who was unfortunately overheard by Draco Malfoy and the other Slytherins, who were members of Umbridge's newly informed inquisitorial squad. When Malfoy stated that he would have to dock points from Hufflepuff and Gryffindor, Ernie immediately contradicted him by stating that fellow prefects had no authority to do so, but was overridden by the new squad's powers, and his contradiction was used as an excuse to dock another 5 points from Hufflepuff, much to Ernie's disgust. When Fred and George Weasley implied that they were going to cause some trouble in the school, Ernie looked uncomfortable and made an excuse about some unfinished Transfiguration homework so he wouldn't be associated with whatever they were up to. At the end of the school year, Ernie was one of the members of the DA who helped foil an ambush on Harry by Draco Malfoy, Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle on the Hogwarts Express, cursing them so vigorously that they were reduced to 3 giant slugs in Hogwarts robes. Ernie and Justin then helped hoist them into the luggage rack to ooze out on the journey. Ernie's hard work and determination from the previous year paid off. He was the only Hufflepuff student in his year who reached the required level to advance to NEWT potions. Ernie earned at least and exceeds expectations on his OWL exam, something Severus Snape claimed was very hard to achieve. Ernie had also qualified for NEWT level Defence Against the Dark Arts, most likely because of Harry Potter's teaching the previous year. Ernie also attended evaporation lessons with his fellow students. His enthusiasm during apparition lessons were very entertaining, particularly when he was concentrating as he looked as though he was straining to lay a quaffle-sized egg. Later that year, Death Eaters invaded Hogwarts. Dumbledore's army was called to battle, and the Battle of the Astronomy Tower broke out. It was likely Ernie never received his DA signal, as he had left the Hufflepuff common room to investigate a disturbance he had heard when he saw Draco Malfoy, Severus Snape, and Harry Potter running down a corridor. He asked Harry what was going on, but got a blunt response. "Harry, we heard a noise, and someone said something about the Dark Mark. Out of the way!" He would later discover that Albus Dumbledore had been killed that night by Snape, and attended his funeral to pay his respects. In his 7th year, attendance at Hogwarts had become mandatory, as Death Eaters had taken over the school. Ernie's Muggle-born friend, Justin Finch-Fletchley, was not able to come back to school, though Hannah Abbott returned. Ernie joined the revived Dumbledore's army, which was led by Neville Longbottom, Ginny Weasley and Luna Lovegood in the absence of Harry Potter, Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley, who were hunting down Voldemort's Horcruxes. The DA members opposed the anti-Muggle propaganda. They painted rebellious phrases on the walls and freed students from detentions, where they faced beatings and even the Cruciatus Curse. On the 2nd of May 1998, Harry, Ron and Hermione returned to Hogwarts as Voldemort approached with his army. A meeting was held in the Great Hall, and when Professor McGonagall laid out the plans to evacuate the younger students from the school, Ernie indicated his willingness to fight against the Death Eaters by directly asking McGonagall about those who wished to remain behind. His question was applauded by a number of students who held similar feelings. "Prefects, when I give the word, you will organise your house and take your charges in an orderly fashion to the evacuation point. And what if we want to stay and fight?" During the Battle of Hogwarts, Ernie, along with Luna Lovegood and Seamus Finnegan, came to the aid of Harry, Ron and Hermione by using their Patronus to drive off a group of Dementors. Ernie's took the form of a boar. Ernie survived the Battle of Hogwarts, but it is unknown what happened to him in later life.